Welcome to our deep dive into what many are calling the most significant breakthrough in regenerative medicine of our time. I'm your host, and today we're exploring the fascinating world of stem cell technology, specifically the stem cell technology patch that's changing lives across the globe. Many wonder why Schmidt has not been given the best Nobel Prize yet. But what if this breakthrough is just the tip of the iceberg? What if the real revolution in health is even bigger than we imagine? What if I told you that everything you've been taught about disease may be fundamentally wrong, that the entire medical establishment has been looking at health backward for over a century? Imagine this. You walk into a doctor's office with chronic fatigue. After running tests, they diagnose you with an autoimmune condition. Down the hall, someone with joint pain gets diagnosed with arthritis. Another person with breathing difficulties gets labeled with COPD. 3 different people, 3 different diagnoses, 3 different treatment plans. But what if all these seemingly different conditions actually stem from the exact same problem? For centuries, medicine has categorized diseases by their symptoms. Got a rash? That's dermatitis. Trouble breathing? That's asthma. Joint pain? Arthritis. This symptom-based model has dominated medical education and practice since the dawn of modern medicine. It's like having a car that won't start, and instead of checking the engine, you just keep renaming the problem based on which dashboard light is flashing. But there's a revolutionary new understanding of disease that's turning this entire model on its head. An approach so fundamentally different that it could transform how we think about health forever. Before I reveal this paradigm shift, let me ask you, have you ever wondered why chronic diseases keep rising despite our advanced medical technology? Why cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and autoimmune conditions continue to plague millions despite trillions spent on healthcare? The answer might lie in a complete reimagining of what disease actually is. Enter Raymond Francis, a MIT-trained scientist who developed a theory so elegant yet profound that it challenges the very foundation of modern medicine. Francis proposes something radical. There is only one disease, not hundreds, not thousands, just one. That disease is cellular malfunction, and it has only 2 causes, deficiency and toxicity. Think about that for a moment. Every single health condition you've ever heard of, from the common cold to cancer, stems from the same root problem. Your cells aren't working properly. It's like an orchestra where some musicians are playing out of tune. The trillion cells in our bodies need to perform their roles harmoniously. When they don't, we experience what we call disease. But here's where it gets interesting. Francis identified 6 pathways that determine whether our cells function optimally or break down: nutrition, toxin exposure, psychological factors, physical activity, genetics, and medical interventions. This isn't just theoretical. This understanding saved Francis's own life when conventional medicine had given up on him. But before I share his remarkable story, I want you to consider something. What if the reason so many chronic diseases seem incurable is because we're treating the symptoms rather than the actual disease? What if diabetes, heart disease, and even cancer aren't separate conditions, but different manifestations of the same underlying problem? And most importantly, what if this means many incurable conditions are actually reversible? In 1985, Raymond Francis was dying. At age 48, this MIT-trained scientist had consulted with 30 different doctors for a mysterious illness that was rapidly destroying his health. His liver was failing. His immune system was collapsing. He could barely walk across a room without assistance. The best medical minds in the country had no answers. One doctor finally told him, "There's nothing more we can do. Get your affairs in order." Francis recalls lying in his hospital bed, barely able to think clearly through the brain fog, when he had a moment of clarity. As a scientist, he realized something profound. Disease doesn't just happen randomly. There must be causes. And if there are causes, there must be solutions. With what little strength he had left, Francis began researching. He discovered that his liver had been damaged by a prescription medication. His cells were malfunctioning because they lacked essential nutrients and were overwhelmed by toxins. Against medical advice, Francis checked himself out of the hospital and began implementing what would later become his revolutionary health model. He focused on giving his cells exactly what they needed and removing everything that was harming them. Within months, his liver function normalized, his energy returned. The man who doctors had essentially sentenced to death was making a remarkable recovery. 6 months later, Francis was back to full health. The experience transformed him from a scientist to a health revolutionary. He realized that if he could recover from the brink of death by addressing cellular health, this approach could potentially help millions suffering from chronic disease. But here's the question: was Francis just lucky, or is there solid science behind his approach? And if he's right, why isn't this the standard approach in medicine today? The science behind Francis's approach is surprisingly robust, though it challenges many conventional medical practices. Let's start with the foundation: cellular malfunction as the one disease. This isn't as radical as it might sound. Every medical student learns that disease begins at the cellular level. When cells can't perform their functions, whether it's producing energy, removing waste, repairing damage, or communicating with other cells, problems arise. Think about your immune system, which we've explored in previous videos. It's an incredibly complex network of cells working together to protect you. When these cells malfunction due to deficiency or toxicity, your immune response can become either too weak, making you vulnerable to infection, or too aggressive, leading to autoimmune conditions. Take the example of allergies, which we covered in another video. Your immune cells, particularly mast cells, overreact to harmless substances like pollen or food proteins. This isn't a separate disease. It's cellular malfunction, specifically of your immune cells. The two causes, deficiency and toxicity, are also supported by research. Nutritional deficiencies are well-documented causes of disease. Scurvy from vitamin C deficiency, pellagra from niacin deficiency, and rickets from vitamin D deficiency are classic examples. But more subtle deficiencies can contribute to chronic conditions like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Similarly, toxicity's role in disease is well established. Environmental toxins, from heavy metals to pesticides to air pollution, disrupt cellular function. Even the medications designed to help us can sometimes harm our cells, as Francis discovered firsthand. Consider the growing body of research on endocrine-disrupting chemicals found in everyday products, plastics, cosmetics, cleaning supplies, that interfere with hormone signaling and cellular communication. These compounds have been linked to everything from fertility issues to neurological disorders, all stemming from their ability to disrupt normal cellular function. The 6 pathways Francis identified: nutrition, toxin, psychological, physical, genetic, and medical, align with what we now know about health determinants. For example, the psychological pathway acknowledges how stress, trauma, and emotions affect our physiology through hormones and neurotransmitters. Recent advances in psychoneuroimmunology have demonstrated how chronic stress triggers inflammatory cascades throughout the body, affecting virtually every system. This inflammation, at its core, is a cellular response that can lead to dysfunction when prolonged, perfectly aligning with Francis's model. Dr. Robert Lufkin, a professor at UCLA's medical school, has written extensively about how the medical establishment often teaches outdated or incorrect information. In his book, Lies I Taught in Medical School, he explains how doctors are trained to focus on treating symptoms rather than addressing root causes. Lufkin points out that 8 of the top 10 causes of death in the United States are directly correlated with metabolic syndrome, a condition characterized by cellular dysfunction. This aligns perfectly with Francis's model of one disease manifesting in different ways. But if this approach is so effective, why isn't it mainstream? The answer involves complex factors, including medical education, pharmaceutical influence, and the challenge of changing established paradigms. Medical schools spend little time on nutrition and prevention, focusing instead on diagnosing specific diseases and prescribing medications. The pharmaceutical industry, which funds much medical research and education, has little financial incentive to promote approaches that might reduce medication use. And changing established medical paradigms is notoriously difficult. It took decades for doctors to accept that ulcers could be caused by bacteria rather than stress. But perhaps the most compelling evidence for Francis's approach comes from the growing number of people who have used it to recover from incurable conditions. Which brings us to an important question. If cellular health is the key to preventing and reversing disease, how exactly do we optimize it? This video is just the beginning of our exploration into the revolutionary understanding of disease and health. In the coming series, we'll dive deep into how cellular malfunction manifests as specific conditions, and more importantly, how to address them. We'll explore how nutritional deficiencies and toxic exposures contribute to heart disease, and why conventional treatments often fail to address the root causes. You'll learn why cholesterol isn't the villain it's made out to be, and how inflammation at the cellular level is the real culprit. We'll examine cancer through the lens of cellular health, exploring how metabolic dysfunction, not just genetic mutations, drives tumor growth. You'll discover why some cancer treatments might actually make the underlying cellular problems worse. We'll investigate autoimmune conditions, revealing how a combination of gut permeability, nutritional deficiencies, and environmental toxins can trigger the immune system to attack the body's own tissues. And we'll look at cutting-edge approaches to restoring cellular health, including how stem cell technology is revolutionizing treatment for conditions once considered irreversible. Throughout this series, you'll hear from people who have recovered from serious health challenges by applying these principles. Real people with real results that conventional medicine couldn't explain. You'll also learn practical, actionable steps you can take to optimize your own cellular health, regardless of your current condition. Because when you address the one disease at its root, remarkable healing becomes possible. But before we conclude this introduction to the one disease model, let's address the elephant in the room. If this approach is so effective, why isn't everyone talking about it? The paradigm shift we've explored today, understanding disease as cellular malfunction with 2 causes and 6 pathways, isn't just theoretical. It's a practical framework that has helped countless people recover their health when conventional approaches failed. Raymond Francis's journey from death's door to vibrant health illustrates the power of addressing the root causes of disease rather than just managing symptoms. By giving his cells what they needed and removing what was harming them, he reversed a condition that medical experts deemed terminal. This approach doesn't reject conventional medicine entirely. Emergency care, surgery, and certain medications have their place. But for chronic conditions that affect millions, addressing cellular health offers hope where traditional treatments often fall short. The challenge is that our medical system isn't designed to support this approach. Doctors receive minimal training in nutrition and prevention. Insurance rarely covers integrative treatments, and pharmaceutical companies have little incentive to promote solutions that don't involve their products. But change is happening. More doctors are recognizing the limitations of the symptom-based model. More research is validating the importance of cellular health, and more patients are taking charge of their own healing journeys. As we continue this series, you'll gain a deeper understanding of how specific conditions develop and how to address them at the cellular level. You'll learn practical strategies for optimizing each of the 6 pathways to health, and you'll hear inspiring stories of healing that defy conventional medical expectations. The truth is, your body has a remarkable capacity for self-healing when given the right conditions. By understanding disease as cellular malfunction and addressing its true causes, you can tap into this innate healing potential. So I invite you to join us on this journey of discovery. Subscribe to our channel to catch the upcoming videos in this series. Share your own experiences in the comments below. And most importantly, begin to look at your health through this new lens of cellular function. Because when you understand that there's only one disease, you unlock the possibility of true healing, not just managing symptoms for the rest of your life. What health challenges are you facing, and how might they look different when viewed through the lens of cellular health? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.